Hey, Chris, are you ready to take a trip?
Isn't that a song? Yes,
No, are
I
you
am
ready
ready
to
to take
take
a
a
trip.
trip to Dencun?
To Dencun. I will
Yeah.
welcome everybody to the Beacon TVL show. I do have a confession to make. I am terribly sorry for anybody I might have misled up to this moment because I always thought that it was two cities for some reason, and I know that that's not right. I thought that the Den and Dencun was for Denver. It's not. It's for Deneb. So Deneb and Cancun. But yes, the beautiful territory of Dencun is where we're traveling.
I think they might be selling some like digital ID passport cards, trying
Really?
to compete with Palau. So you might be able to become a legal citizen for the purposes of centralized exchanges of the Republic of Dencun very soon.
I would not be shocked if someone actually tries to do that. I'll be honest. I'm kind of hoping that someone actually does that. That would be fantastic, specifically because for anyone who went to Denver, um, Palau was in full force. Apparently I heard they even asked specific members of their community who had a digital ID who were going to ETHDenver that were not from Palau to go and hand out these sample cards. And I don't have mine, unfortunately. I thought I had it right here because I had it here a couple days ago, but I did
Look, man,
not.
at this point, if you're not already, a card carrying quote unquote citizen of Palau, do you even crypto? Do you
Do
even
you
DeFi?
even
I don't know.
crypto? I unfortunately don't have a Palau RNS ID. Do you have one?
It's in the mail.
Ah, that's something
Get
I
get
need
yours in the
to.
mail, Chris. Yeah.
Well, I'm right now. I'm actually looking into dual citizenship with my ancestral mother country. So
Do you
I
think
may
they're going to
not.
look down on you being a tri-citizen of Palau?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I don't know.
I don't think they'll care, but
No, I don't
I
think
mean,
any.
I
I
have a
don't.
problem. I
Hmm,
I have a problem if the Italian government cares.
I see. Well, I don't. I mean, I think I would like to think that being the home of the largest Axie Infinity community, the Philippines would be fine with me in crypto. Not saying that
Oh
there's a
man,
huge bunch of Chads from the Philippines out in DeFi, but I see you all. I see you
no,
all.
no, there are.
Oh, there sure are. And I apologize.
Don't roll
I
deep.
was sharing the wrong screen when we started the live stream. So, um, let's kind of reboot that part and just say that yes, welcome to Dencun going live this morning. For anyone who is unaware of the Dencun upgrade, this is the second largest upgrade to the network. Of course, POS moved to Beacon Chain in September of 2022 was first, and then the Shanghai and Capella upgrade last year, um, which made which helped users able to withdraw their staked ETH was next, and then this one introduces protodank sharding, which is pretty much making it a lot easier for layer twos to settle, specifically on layer one by introducing what are called blobs to the network. Um, yeah, huge step in the
The
right
real question
direction.
is here, Chris.
Yes.
Why does the Ethereum core team love portmanteaus so much?
Probably
Because I'm
because it
here for it,
is.
but
I'm here for it
yeah,
too. Probably because it's just they do have to update two major parts. Generally the execution and consensus. The next one is already,
okay.
they're still figuring out the release date, but I believe it's going to be called Petra, which is a mixture of Prague and Electra. So
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So I guess we'll see what happens on the rest of the roadmap for next year. But I do believe it's. I know Verkle trees are going to be on there, so it's going to make um, even more updates to what we have here with the blobs. But yeah, so essentially for layer twos that are going to be settling on ETH mainnet, you're going to be seeing hopefully a reduction in fees due to these blobs helping, with data availability and stuff like that. Reduce fees up to 90%. Um, with that said, it's not going to be immediate for most of the L2s. It should be, but it won't be immediate. For example, from Stephen Goldfeder, who's a co-founder at Off-Chain Labs and a contributor to Aerodrome, tomorrow, the 14th, will be the initial reductions in fees. So it's going to be a little bit of a process as other layer twos, get synced up with all of the blobs and all of the other structures that are out there. So fees will take a little bit of time to really, uh, take effect, and specifically the services using these blobs to now reduce fees in terms of how they batch and settle their transactions. One, thankfully, since we were about to go live, Blast, the layer 2 that actually surpassed Base and TVL, based on their early locking of ETH, they actually froze during the Ethereum upgrade. Stopped producing blocks. They have, however, fixed that, and it's they're going to have a post-mortem on exactly what happened. But yeah, that wasn't a good look for them. But hopefully, this is something that will help them moving forward. So, Andrew, I know you had some thoughts about Dencun and what it could bring. So, would love to get a little bit of your thoughts on this as we move forward in this historic moment in DeFi. So again, even if you're not an OG, remember today's date. It's a pretty important one in my personal opinion on the story of DeFi moving forward.
So first, I think that it's interesting that the Dencun upgrade kind of like gives us a snapshot in time in how well the different L2 teams are prepared for it. And frankly, not a good look for Blast. Kind of looks like they're not prepared for it. But hey, they're also new. I think if Base or Optimism or Arbitrum had gotten, halted production due to the upgrade, that would be much bigger news than happening with Blast, to be frank. Even though Blast has kind of catapulted itself up to that level based on TVL and at least initial hype. So this is a huge freaking deal for DeFi because, DeFi, sure, it does happen places other than Ethereum based chains and EVM based environments. But it was invented on Ethereum, and Ethereum is still the primary driver. The primary, Solidity is the primary language. Ethereum mainnet's the primary driver. So salutations to the Avalanches and the Solanas of the world, but you're still kind of living in an Ethereum-driven world. So this is a big deal because this is the plan for scaling Ethereum mainnet. The plan is not to increase transaction throughput and scalability directly on the ETH mainnet environment. The plan is to enable additional layers to scale Ethereum. So Dencun is really critical in optimizing for this architecture, optimizing for this intention that it's going to be the Arbitrums, the Bases, the Optimisms, the Blasts, the ZK Syncs, the Polygon ZK EVM, the Scrolls, so on and so on and so on, can operate as cheaply and efficiently as possible while still being secured by the L1 of Ethereum mainnet. So Dencun is reducing gas costs on those layer 2 chains. They are making optimistic and ZK rollups ultimately cheaper. And that is huge. That is huge because that enables more people to interact in DeFi more often for cheaper. So I could go on and on about potential implications. You know, there's potential implications around lowered gas costs, meaning that this is, you know, there's some more usable solutions for the visas and the mainstream payment processors of the world to do things on chain, because these per transaction cost changes are huge if you're doing something like settling credit card transactions. But I think what is more interesting now at this stage, Chris, is if we pivot over to some of the analysis on how the fees are actually changing. Because, you know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we said, hey, 50 to 90% reductions likely across the board. But we're going to have to wait and see to see how things roll out.
I agree. So, a couple places to go if you're curious on following along. Obviously, ultrasound money is an easy place to go to. Won't tell you the L2 fees, but it'll kind of tell you overall how gas is looking. The other, I mean, it's not working for some reason. I wonder why. But L2fees.info is another website.
DDoS.
Apparently,
They're getting DDoS by Solana maxis.
it's been packeted to death. But yeah, ultimately these are two sites. This site is probably the best site to go to with regards to that. I wish I had a better demo, but unfortunately the website is not working, and it has been for 35 minutes. So, well, longer than that.
You know, this is why we got to bring this all on chain, right, Chris? Because this wouldn't happen to Ethereum.
It would not. It would not. Absolutely not happen. So, yeah. So, you know, ultimately, you know, for anybody who's curious, we do have links in the show notes, specifically if you're curious more about, you know, obviously you can go to the Ethereum Foundation and read everything in EIP 4844, which will probably melt your face off with regards to how technical it is. But specifically, as Andrew was mentioning, just with the scalability, the ability to reduce the amount of charges it's going to cost the L2s to settle these transactions on Ethereum mainnet is just the big game changer. Again, we don't know specifically for ZKs and stuff like that, because those are, for right now, the more expensive of the layer 2s because of compute. And they just don't have some other scalable things that make gas a little bit more expensive. But I do think that, you know, those fees coming down will make them a lot more popular. So Linea, for example, great example, because they're technically Validium with regards to their code base. So what that means is if you deploy something on Ethereum on another EVM chain, you can take that code and for very little a modification, just deploy it on Linea, because it's already in what we call Validium with regular EVM bytecodes. So yeah, huge day for today. It's gonna take a couple of days to see exactly what the reductions in fees are, but we're talking pennies for transactions on Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base. Right now, I mean, obviously, it's not terrible as compared to mainnet. Mainnet is expensive, right? We're talking like, I guess we could check to see exactly how much it is right now. So etherscan.io/gas tracker.
Etherscan's down. That's really bullish. Okay, it's up.
It's chunky with regards to how much that is. You're probably looking for a simple swap, probably in the arena of 12 to 20. Oh,
80.
A little bit more. Probably $25 to $35.
See, and this is why L2s are important, guys. This is why this is important.
Yeah. So, you know, this will be a welcome optimization. I saw somewhere that I guess it just also means that decentralized exchanges will have mass adoption, and I'm not really sure what they meant by that statement. Because
It means they're
apparently,
cheaper, sir.
well, yeah, obviously, but at the same time, it's like I don't remember them not being cheap compared to even, well, I guess compared like to a CEX, I suppose. But there's always been better liquidity and better swap ability on a DEX anyway. So yeah, so
Well, I think could,
go
could
ahead.
I add something right in there,
Of
Chris? Because I
course,
think
of course, go
this is
ahead.
something that's kind of interesting. One of the conversations I had that was really interesting in ETHDenver, I was speaking to one of the co-founders of one of the largest decentralized exchanges on B&B chain. We'll probably talk to him at some point, but he was talking about how the actual B&B chain is integrated with Binance. So
Right.
Binance centralized exchange stuff can tap into liquidity on B&B chain to make it more efficient slash feasible to do more trades on the centralized exchange. So something that we could potentially see here, right, with these even lowered gas costs, is that it becomes easier for centralized exchanges to tap into the on-chain liquidity while also still having the very fast finality that people go to centralized exchanges for, and having it not be a big fee increase. So I think that could be like one of the ways that this could increase quote unquote adoption or at least volume on decentralized exchanges and on-chain liquidity, is just that the faster we get, the cheaper we get, the more everything can be kind of integrated, which could also have great knock-on effects for on-chain LPs because you're going to get a chunk of that CEX volume.
Yeah, and I do think for even so, let's bring up some of the other DApps that definitely could capitalize on this. I think number one, probably Uniswap V4, right, is going to be a huge one. I think even CCIP from Chainlink also could be a huge beneficiary of this with cross-chain interoperability. The third, obviously, one that we are really super bullish on from Denver, which is SUPA. The ability to, have cross-chain or just smart contract operations utilizing different things that are going to be much cheaper in the long run, better for everyone. This network effect could actually bubble down to other protocols, even to protocols like Beefy Finance, right? Or Convex is probably the wrong example here, but Aura, some of these other yield optimizing platforms on blockchains that are more expensive than on some of the cheaper optimistics. We're going to see more movement on protocols, more developers building on those protocols due to these cheaper things. So I do think it's going to create better opportunities for us as everyday investors to go in and find good yield farming opportunities overall, specifically with this market just exploding the way that it has from a yield farming perspective. So super bullish on this move, super bullish on how this is all going to play out. It's just going to take a little bit of time to see the full effects. But specifically for even some of the newer L2s that are out, we're talking Mantle, Manta Pacific, Blast, Mode, Immutable X, which is a gaming chain on CDX, on CDK from Polygon. We're going to see, cheaper transactions. And for something like gaming, ooh, now we're cooking. So we'll see. Okay. So segue to everybody who's on the stream. This is a terrible segue, by the way, in terms of now we're cooking, because I guess the question is,
Now
Andrew,
we're cooking with electricity.
That wasn't the segue I was going to make, but it's going to be more of a younger user perspective, because the question we keep asking is, are we back? What will bring retail back? Because that was the one thing we talked about last week, right? Because obviously looking at the chart, for anybody who hasn't been paying attention, we have another all-time high for Bitcoin. Ethereum went past 4K and it's been kind of just sticking around there. But Bitcoin, got up to 73, corrected, went back up, and now we're at 72, another all-time high. So obviously new territory. Not a lot of retail interest yet, right? We keep talking about, when is retail going to come back? Is it 100K? But at the same time, I am hearing rumblings, even from my wife, who, explores a whole different corner of the internet than I am.
Top signal.
Top signal, right? Just kidding. Don't say that. We're super bullish. Still super bullish.
Just a joke.
I am worried that this might be a top signal, though, because
when all of your wife's friends are talking to you, that's the time.
I mean, when you see that Drake, and to be fair, Drake's a little bit of a Giga Chad because he has been in the space previously, but when Drake puts out Michael Saylor's video as a short to his Instagram, all 146 million of his Instagram followers. I mean, that's a lot of people, I don't
think retail's back yet, but they might be about to get back.
They might be about to get back.
For that.
Yeah, so thanks, Drake, I guess, for
you know what's also hit an all-time high just 15 minutes ago, Chris?
What is that?
Dog with hat. We're back.
Really? Where is Whiff on here? Clearly not as high as Floki on here, but not as high. Obviously, wouldn't be as high as Bonk. Well, let's just search for Whiff. Something I didn't get into, and we can talk a little bit about that when we get to our alpha section on what we've learned. Wow, wowzas! Let's look at the 1 month chart for anybody who's curious about how late you are to Whiff. I did have a chance to buy Whiff sub 1 penny, and I didn't do it because memes, right? Chose the wrong meme.
You didn't front run the meme train.
No, I ran a couple different memes that decided to not go anywhere. Unfortunately, and Dog with Hat was not one of them. So,
did you go with Cat with Hat?
No, I went with like Omni-Cat, and I went with okay. Obviously, I'm not shilling coins here, but I bought Grinch on Solana thinking that is totally going to be the meme coin of Christmas. It had to have been, right? Shame on all of you Chads that didn't push Grinch. Anyway, not talking about that. Not financial advice. Do your own research. Don't ask.
I think you just don't like. I think you just don't like dogs, Chris, because it seems like you were going all in on cats, and
I have 4 cats.
You slept on the dog coins.
Yeah, you're right. We have
dog coins are Lindy, Chris. Dog coins are always going to be with us.
I am curious now that that Susan said something in the chat. Oh my goodness. Who woke up Near? I still have Near. Yes, I still have a bag of Near.
I don't know, but they might be closer than you think.
Oh, we're nowhere near where we were when I bought my bag of Near.
Well, the joke about Near, it's I'm trying.
Yeah, it's quite far.
Maybe we should move
quite
on.
Far. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, so obviously thanks to Drake for that. One thing I did want to talk about, and apparently that's what I'm missing from my link here. So we were talking about institutions, right? Institutional money coming down. One thing we talked about roughly about a year ago on the roundtable was Canton Network. Canton Network is a institutional ecosystem. Deloitte, Microsoft, multiple different organizations or major Web 2 organizations were in on creating Canton Network, mainly because it's a private controlled blockchain with controls, which frankly, to those who think institutional money is going to come in and just buy Bitcoin and run all over ETH mainnet, that's not going to happen because ultimately they want to be able to control certain parameters. Like for example, Ernst & Young has been working with Polygon for more than 3 years on a L2 chain called, I think it's called Nightshade. I think this project was, but I don't know what it's called now, but that's what it was when they first started. But Canton, so Goldman Sachs, Bank of New York Mellon, and SIBO, which is from Chicago. They We had 155 participants from 45 organizations across 22 permission blockchains tied to Canton's distributed ledger technology. So they're here, ladies and gentlemen. They've done the pilot. We could see some serious inflows, not necessarily to blockchains we're personally on, but into a decentralized blockchain tech ecosystem of their own building. What do you think, Andrew?
I think we're going to see the rise of corpo chains, and we're also going to just see Bitcoin and Ethereum based stuff continue to lead the pack.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
I would say personally, I'm most interested in like the chains that are public chains, but oriented towards these corporate customers and these institutional customers, but that anyone who wants can still engage on. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah, I mean, I won't be shocked if we see lots of little fragmented private chains going out there. We met so there's a technology out there, private smart contract technology from a blockchain called Oasis that we met in Denver that I've been following for years now, and they're finally starting to get their second blockchain up and running called Sapphire. Emerald's been out for quite some time. But yeah, we're going to see different types of blockchains, different opportunities for probably most of us to test drive the tech. Let's be honest. A lot of the tech that you're probably seeing in Canton Network is tech that's been around blockchains for years. So we could be the early beta testers with a lot of things that are out there, bringing into these private chains. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. Obviously, this helps push majors, in my personal opinion, because of course they're going to be looking into not only Bitcoin and Ethereum, but probably also major stable coins. So I don't know if this means, tailwinds for Tether, but it probably could reveal tailwinds for USDC, my personal opinion, even for DAI. Because I'm pretty sure that Maker, specifically because they have tools for institutions, will be a big player here.
Chris, while people are getting ready to test drive these chains that are going to likely have corporate inflows, they should also test drive the like button. So if you could just test drive that like button while you're test driving the stream, that is like the only way the YouTube algorithm notices us. So much appreciated if you can drop a like.
I didn't even have to tell you to do that. So I appreciate you, man. That's good stuff right there from Andrew. And while you're at it, we do have a free group, obviously thanks to all of our founding members of our mastermind, for helping make all of this possible. But if you want to understand more about DeFi, you're not really sure where to start, you're not quite ready for our mastermind, but you want to get a little bit of education, you can get education from the best at our free group at TVL, which is school.com/beacon. Go ahead and sign up, introduce yourself, get entered in for all of this swag, which you can't see on my desk back here virtually, that we are giving away.
Believe it, guys. He's got like 10 hoodies, 5 hats, so many stickers.
Not really hoodies this year. A lot of shirts.
And a lot of prepaid shipping envelopes.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to do that, eh? Can I expense that? Yeah, cool. Okay, thanks.
I just assumed you already had it, sir. That's the beauty of the green screen.
So obviously, if you are on TVL, Total Value Locked, which is our free group, if you've introduced yourself, you're in the running for that. If you're a highly engaged member, we will take care of you. But if you're just here looking at this, seeing this for the first time, and you want to get qualified for some of the swag that we have, obviously hit the like button, subscribe, and then leave a comment saying I would love some swag, and we will draw a couple names, because I certainly have enough for everyone, referring to Susan's comment about there's room for everything. Yeah, there's plenty of swag too. So
it sounds, Chris, like folks should both like, comment that they would like, that they're interested in being in the drawing for some swag, and subscribe if they haven't already. Right?
That's exactly right. Thank you, Andrew.
So like, comment, and subscribe
And subscribe.
for the drawing. You might also magically have like a 20% higher chance of getting the swag if you also hit the bell.
Hmm.
No
Hopefully,
promises, no financial advice.
I was about to say, hopefully nobody tests that metric. Um, I wanted to, and people have asked us this before, Andrew. What do you think about having a DAO for our group? Do you think it's something that makes sense?
Huh. I think one of the first things is like the legal implications of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, do I need to move to Wyoming because Wyoming, likes DAOs
Hey,
to
hey,
help
hey,
found
hey,
this DAO?
hey. You need to let me segue in properly here. But
Oh, I didn't even know. You think I read the notes before the show, sir? I
oh
don't.
darn it. Well, anyway, Cat, he didn't bury the lead, but he obviously helped walk us into this next announcement before we get into the alpha talk. Um, yeah, Wyoming, you know, land of the free, everything that's in Colorado with a tenth less, with a 1% less, 1% of the population. Home of beloved crypto companies, LLCs, and Liz Cheney. They've done a very nice attaboy moment, in my personal opinion. They have passed what's called the DUNA Act. That sounds weird. That sounds like do not act. But the DUNA Act, which is the Decentralized Unincorporated Nonprofit Association Act, was ratified into law last Thursday, thanks to Governor Mark Gordon. What does this do? It actually allows DAOs to open bank accounts. They can pay taxes. They can appear in court. They are legal standing, just like any other entity in the state of Wyoming. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for all of the NFT and shitcoin DAOs that are now going to be flocking to be legal entities in the state of Wyoming to be able to have their treasuries and fiat bank accounts and stuff like that in the state of Wyoming. Um,
When somebody makes DAO with hat and
mm,
makes it a legal entity in Wyoming, I'm going to join. I'm going to buy the
yeah,
token.
you're gonna ape in on that.
If there's a DAO with hat based out of Wyoming, I'm in.
Sure. I mean, I think Tom has the right idea. The only thing wrong with Wyoming is that they're in Wyoming. I mean, I think you could make that argument for a lot of states in this country. But yeah, I mean, obviously experimental. Wyoming, of course, doesn't have a ton of people, so it makes sense that they'll try new things here. And um, yeah, I think it's an interesting step. Um, you don't have to answer the DAO question, Andrew. I was just trying to segue into this, but um, yeah, this is big news for anyone who is using for any protocol that uses a DAO and are looking for some type of legal standing in the United States. You can do so through the state of Wyoming. So, congrats to them. Okay, we will move on
Chris,
to
just like Delaware
yeah,
has more businesses than people,
yeah.
maybe Wyoming will one day, very soon, have more DAOs than people.
It is going to be the home of DAOs, the Rockies, expensive real estate, and DAOs, and Tetons that are quite grand, and Yellowstones. That's a terrible dad joke. I apologize. We'll go ahead and move on to our.
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, that's all. Let's move on.
We'll move on. Um, so I guess the question is, Andrew, everyone keeps talking about meme coins, sir. So it's pretty crazy. I keep I'm curious, just from an alpha standpoint, have you been, playing in the meme coin game?
Mainly on Solana, but yes. I will admit that I've been caught a little bit by surprise by just how quickly meme coins have taken off. And I've put some thought into why that is. And while the why may not matter that much because it is what it is, and sometimes in a bull market, asking why will only get you into trouble. Um, because regular retail interest isn't really here yet, because the market is being driven by ETFs, institutional investment, and people who have already been in the crypto market for a long time, on-chain natives, if you will. I think there has been an early rotation um, into riskier altcoins and meme coins because we've been seeing, BTC and ETH essentially just having a free walk to all-time highs. Bitcoin's already there and pushing higher. So those that are hyper focused on the market are chasing riskier things for higher upside. And typically, looking back to previous cycles, we would see that kind of more coinciding with the majors being at a top or near a top, retail FOMOing into that top, and the insiders rotating into higher risk assets. So short answer, yes, dabbling in meme coins, dabbling in altcoins.
Mm-hmm.
Long answer, this is, every cycle's different. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme a bit. We're seeing the rhyming, but it is like definitely a little bit of a different tune, if you will.
Yeah, I will say I've been playing on a little bit on Solana, but I've been drinking the Kool-Aid, and I've been playing a little bit of the shitcoin game on AVAX as well as on Base. So you can stay tuned to your Twitter timelines to know what those are. I'm curious to see on Solana at least where Peng goes from here. Let's just put it that way. Again, not trying to shill coins or anything. Just curious about certain animals and how they fare in the market now they've been listed by Binance. So,
Sir, you just keep betting on animals that aren't dogs.
you're right. Well, I missed. So if you've been around the way over the holiday season, there were tons of dogs and cats because people were making meme coins based on the names of famous founders' dogs and cats. That's all that it really was. And people were bored enough and looking to get into something to speculate on such things. Now that other animals are coming out, I think that there's a chance there. But so we'll go to move on. Another piece of alpha we wanted to talk about today is if you guys follow us on our on our trainings, which by the way this Friday 3 p.m. Eastern is going to be fun because Andrew's going to be joining me this week. For those of you who follow us on our Beat the Banks trainings, of course, as part join our TVL group to find out exactly where. Base is super hot. For all of our mastermind members who follow our Beacon Farming Spotlight, and of course the TVL members get a piece of that as well. Base has just been ridiculously hot. Huge building. It's the L2 of Coinbase. Of course, they don't actually, unlike B&B Chain, they're not owned by Coinbase, but they certainly have a good working relationship with the group that is overseeing Base, right? That, of course, that's to be expected. So, one piece of information that we got in Denver was that Aerodrome. Aero is the token of Aerodrome, which is the largest decentralized exchange on the Base blockchain by TVL. Their token Aero was pumping quite a bit. And, we were just trying to figure out, we just thought it was because every 10 to 14 days down during their, what we call their epoch period, they have the way that they have their farm set up. It's in a VE33 formation, so it's a flywheel of liquidity back and forth that it's driven by bribes. Anyone who's familiar with Convex on ETH mainnet and others that follow this model are very familiar with how bribes work. Generally, if you are a staker of Aero, buying the native coin and staking it, you can actually vote to where the incentives go each and every epoch. And that's where the better rates come on different pools. Now, how would you feel if you find out that specifically Coinbase has gone and purchased a major position of Aero? This means that by buying Aero and staking it now, they can now control where the liquidity is going every 2 weeks in this specific flywheel, which is interesting. But also, with Coinbase being Coinbase, high stocks, them being the custodian of 7 of the newborn 9 Bitcoin ETFs, bullish, right? So the question that people ask is like, should I be buying Aero? I'm like, no, you should not be buying Aero, because obviously you can, obviously not financial advice. You should be farming Aero, because Aero is going to appreciate, because they're not just going to buy once. Let's be honest. They're going to continue to buy. They're going to build on a position so that they can really dictate, or not dictate, but nudge along where most of the incentives are going to go. And right now, at least for the last multiple months, stable coins have been hot, as well as major protocol native coins have been super hot. And just to reiterate on base, they're getting a ton of TVL, especially this last month, much more TVL. Aerodrome is the top. My gosh, they're up over 130 million over the last 2 weeks, with regards to TVL.
Yo.
So you can also make the argument that as base improves, so does Aerodrome as the leading DEX on the blockchain. So, having a bag of Aero that either you purchase or farm is a bit of a hedge against the success of the blockchain, right? So you have the ability to farm Aero, hold it, watch it appreciate, or you can also take some of it, stake it, so you get the benefits of being a staker in Aerodrome, which means not only do you get a piece of protocol fees, you also get what are called bribes from other protocols looking to sway your vote on where these incentives should go. So obviously, plutocracy rules, right, with regards to Coinbase Ventures coming and purchasing a gigantic, I'm not going to say gigantic, a large position of Aero to help steer the ship. But overall, with the Coinbase in the industry, I think this is quite bullish. So yeah, you would be better off, farming the Aero personally than buying it, because ultimately the way VE33 farms like this go, those coins are designed to go to zero. But Andrew, I just wanted to let you know,
if they keep buying it.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think that I'm just saying, do you think they set a floor for Aero and it continues to appreciate from here? Is that the move here by making the purchase that they did? They set a floor, a price floor for Aero, and now the move upward goes. And this is where the lowest support for that coin gets set.
That's a tough question, Chris, because the answer is I don't. I think there's so many reasons to be bullish on the base ecosystem, and it is great to see Coinbase essentially reinvesting in the most successful protocols on the base chain. So right now, there is enough momentum that it's hard for me to imagine the Aero token going to zero. But I also, I don't know that now is the time to buy it. Because while it could go up significantly from here, the safer bet is just to farm it. The APRs are so darn high. You can just farm it, and if you're bullish on that token, you don't have to sell all of your rewards.
Exactly. You're just holding on to the Aero, right? Because Coinbase is going to continue with their measured buys, most likely to keep, to keep the coin where it's at. And I mean, look at these. I mean, obviously, if you've been looking at the spotlight, you know exactly where these are. But these are stable coin pools. These are stable coin pools at over 100%. And the interesting coincidence is that the majority of these coins on Base are actually on peg. How that continues to stay the case, magic internet money, right? But yeah, I mean,
82% USD USDC. I mean, USD plus USDC plus 75%.
And we're not talking like, really small paltry pools. We're talking millions of dollars in these pools. These are deep liquidity pools, putting out huge rates with high incentives.
$40 million pool at the top there at 112% APR.
With DALA and USDBC. DALA being from Inverse Finance, a collateralized stablecoin that's paid for by loans, by debt. Obviously, if you've been watching us or part of the mastermind of TVL, you know all about this from our stablecoin training. So, yeah, this is interesting. But I guess the question, Andrew, is this is awesome, but is there a better option for farming Aerodrome pools that you can think of?
There could be, and there also could be a better token than Aero.
A better token? Well, anyway, we'll segue over to the other farm.
Yeah, have you looked at the extra token, sir?
I have not. It's been a minute, but I'm assuming
it's at a plateau.
Really?
It's an interesting looking plateau.
That's an interesting looking plateau. Now, some of these coins, like I said, obviously high risk, high reward. I don't know what to think of this rate specifically because it has
a good rate. That's 3.3 million. Now.
Yeah, it's a very new pool, but it has 3.3 million. So I don't know what Wells is. You'll have to do a little bit of research there. But the one we're going to look at is USDC Aero. Now, Aero, again, native coin, native token of Aerodrome. With USDC, this is native USDC, by the way, not USDBC, which is the wrapped version. You can get, if you have the VE extra boost, so you're going to have to grab the extra token, up to that amount. I'm not going to say it because it probably will go down if I actually say it. But we're looking at $31 million in the pool. This is a deep pool. And these are ridiculous. These are frankly very ridiculous rates. Now, one thing to know.
You know what you could also do, Chris?
What's that?
Now, I'm not saying anyone should, but what you could do is you could enter this position just with USDC, borrow the Aero token, and enter a pseudo delta neutral position if you think that the Aero token is likely to range and be generally flat.
And what Andrew's talking about is somehow Extra got some of the code from Solana from one of our favorite pseudo delta neutral platforms called Francium. And they have included it here into Extra because Extra is not only a yield optimizing platform, but for those who attended last week's training, this is also a leveraged farming platform that allows a quote unquote pseudo delta neutral position that you want to do. If you just have USDC, you would borrow the Aero. So you would farm the USDC with 75% of your position, and then they would open an Aero. Technically, it's an Aero short, right? At 3x with the other 25%. And go that way. And obviously, there's metrics here. We're not going to go into it here today because we don't have that kind of time. But just to kind of make you guys aware of some of the things we've been looking at. This one in particular, we have been looking at with a very, very close eye. Because, for, again, what did we mention at the top of the call? This, not top of the call, but top of the segment. If the top DEX on Base is booming, it's a good bet to continue betting on them if Base is booming, right? So I mean, even if it was just like at 300%, I think that's still a great rate. The fact that we're in this range, the fact that this is daily APR, not annual, daily. This is the epitome of printing right here. Any other thoughts, Andrew, before we go to something else?
So it should be obvious to anyone that's kind of seen any of our trainings in the free community, in the mastermind, or just listened to this call for a while, that extra finance is naturally higher risk than Aerodrome.
Yes.
However, if you're looking for a high risk bet that is kind of like, sure, this is a little bit obvious, it might be a little bit mid curve, but I think we're kind of at the mid curve portion of the cycle. The extra token could present itself as beta on Aerodrome, which is beta on base, which is beta on the entire market.
On
So
ETH, yeah.
if you're looking for something that like hasn't necessarily really taken off yet, but it could, like extra finance is still like around only $62 million in TVL. And personally, like I could see this as something that could get over a 500,000 TVL or more, but we're just not quite to that portion of the cycle yet. So to me, like extra is definitely a farm and hold. Might even be a little bit of a buy. You can go farm the extra token or just farm on extra with stable coins, or you can play around with some higher risk
That is
strategies there.
tight. Look at that. Look at how
But
tight that they're halfway up the kink on that. 50% for lending USDC.
yep, and they're going to continue to just gobble up more USDC because people want yield on stable coins, and people want to be able to borrow stable coins. And even if you're just, for whatever reason, you're holding a straight bag of the Aero token, you can get 45% on it just by depositing it there.
Yep, just by depositing. It's an auto compounding position. Again, if you were at our training last Friday, then you know about the lend and supply portion of the leveraged farming cycle. You're helping give liquidity for people to take out the loans to leverage loop. So, yeah, that's a healthy amount to just literally just gain on your Aero. And is extra is also here for 24. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And there are multiple players here in the here that you can actually just put in to also just gain on. So again, if you don't want to do much with your stables, you can put it here. Obviously, as part of our structured plan, 40-40-20, no more than 30% any one protocol. You do want to maintain with that. Also, when you're doing anything like this, you want to make sure you're not doing with a huge allocation, right? This is obviously great yields, give you some passive looks, but you don't want to put a whole bunch of your bag in here because obviously smart contract risk and counterparty risk.
Very not financial advice section, but I think like if you are someone that's a little lower on the capital allocation to DeFi and crypto side, and you're looking for opportunities that have really high upside and are willing to kind of stomach the extra risk, the extra token and the Extrafi platform is one of those platforms where you're going to be able to find that upside, especially if you're able to spend a little bit extra time managing your positions, right? So don't sleep on this. I mean, I think we've seen platforms like this last cycle be some of the easiest money to be made with low capital. And this is like the best one I've seen in this class of platforms thus far for this cycle.
Agreed. Yeah, for anybody who's been with me since for a while, if you ever heard of Yamp Finance, this is very Yamp Financy. And if you're a low cap farmer, you can take advantage of these really high rates to do that. So, yep, that's
I think the difference between this and Yamp, Chris, is that I think when Yamp was starting to pop off, Polygon had already kind of lost momentum.
Yeah, that's true.
And they never really picked up on another chain. So I think The great thing about platform like this on a chain like Base is because Base still has tailwinds and TVL growth and that time of this market. And that is where everything that allows you to take advantage of more volatility when you have tailwinds in the ecosystem and the market is obviously going to be better than if you're doing it on the tail end.
Agreed.
And then on the tail end, we can just go short the Aero token here.
You can.
We'll go later on. We'll go short the Aero token into the ground and make a bunch of money there.
You're hedging your bets, right? So that's the beauty of pseudo delta neutral, is that you can hedge your bets, or you can just literally just short it. Anyway,
it all depends on the time. Like, yeah. We're bring us in, Chris. Bring us in.
Well, I'm just wanting to say is that, obviously we could talk about this for a long time, and we definitely will on our mastermind call tomorrow. But just know that this is a prime opportunity for anybody who's curious about trying to get into Base. This is hot. Definitely something to look into, and one we wanted to bring up on today's, alpha section of the call. But now we're going to move on to call for help. And this is our weekly Q&A segment. Basically, people are asking us questions, and we'll take the question that we think has the most upside for answering, and we will go ahead and answer it for you. Question comes today from Brian. Thank you, Brian, for the question. The question is, hey, Chris and Andrew, did you end up meeting any DePIN projects at ETHDenver? I'm hearing a lot of things about DePIN, but not really sure what DePIN is all about. Could you ELI5 about DePIN? So a little bit to unpack here. First of all, ELI5, if you're not familiar with the terminology, means explain like I'm 5 years old. That is what ELI5 means. Now, DePIN, and I'm glad you asked about DePIN. So what is DePIN? DePIN is specifically projects, real-world projects, we'll call them real-world projects, right? That specifically use blockchain technology as an infrastructure network or source of infrastructure to conduct business, and in a DePIN world, in a decentralized way. In fact, the acronym itself for DePIN stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Network. I'll walk through some of the more popular ones that you may have heard of before. The first is going to be Hivemapper. If you've heard of Hivemapper, they have a token, and Hivemapper and Helium and a couple others we were talking about, they moved to Solana to definitely make it more decentralized because they were running their own blockchains. And ultimately, it's expensive to do so. And it just makes more sense to do it in this way. What does Hivemapper do? They're a mapping company. So what they're looking to do is people can buy their dash cam. I think it's like $500. And basically, as long as if you're a ride share person, if you are a food delivery person, this is a great investment for you, because you can purchase their dash cam, pop it on, go drive places, and they're going to just be mapping where you're going. And ultimately, their goal is to provide a crowdsourced version of Google Maps or Apple Maps that is, not owned by them, it's owned by the community, because it's all been created that way. So you can see by their map, they have a lot of different places where they've already deployed a lot. If you just want to invest in the token, Honey is available for LP on Solana, which is something you can look into. And that's one that's out there. Another one that a lot of people may have heard of is Helium. And well, this is not quite the the Helium link I wanted, but this is fine. Helium basically started out as a product. They sold these hotspots that people could just set up in different places where they lived and create what's called just a cluster of validators. That's what they're being used for, to validate transactions on their chain, which is mainly for Internet of Things, is basically how they started for Helium. It was actually co-founded, I believe, by one of the Napster guys, but essentially they became this. And one thing that they did on part of their pivot is they actually branched out into 5G. So basically, they use what's called LoRaWAN technology, or long range antenna wide area network technology. And they can do so also with 5G. So the ability is you can have these femtocells that you have from Helium as a user, and then provide more to their 5G grid. So you can actually go now. You don't need to have a Saga phone, but you can just use Helium Mobile for $20 a month. It's a bring your own phone system. It just has to be a phone that can accept 5G. A lot of people are curious about it. If you're using the service, then you're actually using the DePIN network from Helium, which is based on Solana. Another major one that's out there is probably one that people are starting to hear of now. We met them in Denver. I have a sick sticker pack from them that I probably won't be giving away in swag because I really want the big one for the back of my laptop, although I probably should. And they're called Akash, and they are a decentralized compute marketplace. They had something called a super network device, I believe is what it was called. And basically these devices, which I don't believe they sell anymore, I think they're just doing straight cloud computing. Basically, you invest in cloud computing, and they're using it for different development pieces. One of them is for another company, which I guess I didn't bring up here, which is BitTensor, which is decentralized AI. Zephyr Protocol, which is a privacy coin. They're mining using Akash. There's a bunch of different ways you can cash in on that. And another one I wanted to mention was Sentinel. No website for Sentinel? All right. Well, Sentinel is decentralized VPN. That's weird. But anyway, it's just a protocol, really. There are a bunch of different VPNs like based that you can buy, you can subscribe to, and then operate as a VPN provider to people around you. And this is kind of an answer to IP relays and stuff like that, because ultimately when you are using a VPN, protocols will blacklist ranges of VPNs, but they can't blacklist all of them, and that's where things like decentralized VPN come in as something that could be good. But yeah, that's essentially what DePIN projects are. I think you quoted an article, Brian, when you asked the question about, it's going to be worth, trillions of dollars by the year 2028, and it probably will be. But that is what DePIN is for the most part. And there are a lot of different projects that will be using blockchain in this way to crowdsource investors and users and be paid for it as well. The newest one that we'll talk about here is Grass. This launched a couple weeks ago. And what Grass is it says get paid for your unused internet. That's really not what they're doing here. They are, but when you hook up their quote unquote node, which is basically a browser extension that you put in, they take your internet data to scrape and verify data for AI training models. The only thing about this is you cannot use a VPN with it because they do need a residential IP in order to use it. So you could probably do it on a VPS or something like that. But yeah, so basically you're they're using your bandwidth to scrape data and help create data provenance, which is a very fun term to use in the world of AI, don't you think, Andrew?
I'm kind of wondering if there's a way to farm this by like me, setting up a virtual machine and like having some like auto surfer extension. Like I'm going back to the 90s here. I'm going back to the early aughts. Is
Andrew,
there
I'm
something
not
I can
going
do
to.
here? How does this work?
Oh,
Just for
Andrew.
educational purposes. Frankly, I'm just curious. Will there be an airdrop, Chris?
From what I hear, yes, but I don't know. I mean, it is very recently launched, and you can find all kinds of referral codes to get on Grass if that's something you're looking for. But overall, just wanted to. Okay, sounds good. The links
For
are in
some
the show
reason,
notes
this just
if you're
seems
curious.
interesting. Maybe it's because I actually see the use case,
Yeah,
and
don't
I
trust,
see that
verify,
this
right?
being something that could make some money.
We say it all the time. Don't trust, verify, right? So you literally get to put your put your resources where your mouth is and get paid for it. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Brian, as to what is DePIN. It is decentralized physical infrastructure networks. You're going to see a ton of them over the next couple of years as more companies who need resources that frankly don't want to pay for them. Well, they'll pay for them, but utilize crowdsourcing to get to that infrastructure. What a way
You're
to
just going to
what
pay
a way
for them in
to
points,
scale.
Chris. Like they're still going to pay for it. It's just going to be in points.
Yeah. Answer Steve's question real quick since we're in context here. What is a VPS versus a VPN? VPS is just a virtual private server. So if you use something like DigitalOcean, if you utilize something like Vulture or Linode or some of these others, you're just paying for an account on a server that lives in the cloud, and you can use it as a server for whatever you like if you know your way around consoles. You can also use AWS. They have their own version of a VPS there, as well as Microsoft. They have multiple Windows-based VPSs that you can use as well in their data lakes if you use their Microsoft Azure solution. So
I can just get pedantic for a second, Chris.
go ahead.
Like the virtual part of it and why it isn't just literally a web server is because it's using a virtual machine instance to essentially be able to have your virtual private server live on top of a really big server that's hosting multiple VPSs. So like that's where the virtual part comes in.
Yeah,
right?
if you ever go to a data center to see this stuff, it's fascinating, because a lot of times, unless they have, specifically like well ventilated, just gigantic racks of just single board computers that have both a processor and an SSD, super fast SSDs, by the way, to pay for. And you can get a VPS for as little as I think less than $7 a month in some cases for a very basic one.
Yeah, you can get them real cheap.
Real cheap. We've also been looking at them for the purpose of possibly airdrop farming with nodes, but yeah, VPSs you could certainly use for something like this. You just have to be careful if you read their blog about how they feel about symbols.
And if you're feeling fancy, or you just want to learn how to interact with these things in a cheap and slightly fun way, you can set up your own VPN on a VPS.
Yeah, you could.
Using open source software.
Yes, you could.
And usually one-click installs on most of those VPS providers.
That is true. But if you could use a decentralized VPN device, like from Sentinel, or one that I didn't put in here is Deeper, is another one that they sell a device that you plug into your home internet and you create your own VPN with hardware, and you get paid for it. Obviously, the ROI on these they're okay. I mean, they're roughly between 9 and 25%. Don't quote me on that. That's an older figure. Could be better. Could be way worse. So, yeah, that is DePIN.
So while you're VPSing your VPN and preparing to DePIN off into your day, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to get a chance at some of Chris's ETHDenver swag. He's got those prepaid mailers in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to hope his mailman doesn't get snowed in, and
that's true.
you'll probably get something.
And depending on what we have, some people may also be in the running for some of our beacon gear as well. Highly coveted.
Yeah, those trucker hats are sick.
They're clean, bro. Super clean. I personally like the beanies better. We got actually in Denver. We've given away most of the hoodies and beanies, but yeah, the trucker caps are clean. So, but yeah, that is the TVL show for today. Thanks everybody for joining us. Watch the show notes if you want to learn more about anything we talked about. And again, we dropped a ton of alpha on you guys today, specifically the base stuff. Join our free group if you want to take advantage of that, because we have training specific on how to set up a wallet so you can get there, how to fund it from something like Coinbase, and how to get the base to set up this pool and multiple other pools. So join us on TVL. We'd love to have you in our growing community.
Quick closing thought. Another reason why, if you guys aren't on the TVL group yet, you should head over there. There is going to be a special call that everyone in our extended community is going to be invited to, 1
Yes.
p.m. Eastern on Friday. There will be a post on TVL tomorrow outlining like what this is about and why we're excited about it. But watch for that, save that date. It is going to be an exciting discussion with some folks that we met in ETHDenver. But I don't want to spoil the surprise or rush the surprise here at the end of the show. Just watch school and be prepared for 1 p.m. Eastern Friday.
Yep. We'll put it on the calendar as well. Yeah, we'll put on the calendar as well for TVL. And yeah, we have a ton of awesome content coming around. A lot of people who are wanting to work with us. Things that won't be a secret, if you know what I mean. Anyway, 07, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you Friday.